Hi, and welcome back to It's Never Too Late to Date. We are the channel about dating and relationships after the age of 60. And today we're going to be talking about menopause. Now, if you're going through that, please comment in the sections if you choose to. Some people want to keep that kind of stuff to themselves. But if you're dealing with that and you feel like you've had symptoms that we talk about today in this video, I'd love to hear how it's affected your life so far. And I'm going to be telling you my story and my experience with menopause. And then afterwards, I'll talk a little bit about how menopause will affect your dating life. And I went through it. And so it's coming from my firsthand experience with my symptoms with menopause, mainly in the emotional way and the mental way, and not physically a little bit, but mainly in the emotional and mental way. So we'll be talking about that in just a second. Now, my story. I started seeing signs of menopause back when I was about 51 years old. Now, most of you know I'm 70 now, so that's been 19 years. And it's just gradual symptoms. The period stops and it comes and it goes for a little bit. And then, so for my story, I'm going to include a few of my life events that were happening around the same time. So I was married at the time I started with throughout menopause, and emotionally, I started feeling a little bit distant, some issues in my marriage, not feeling that we were connected anymore emotionally. And I knew that I was going through the beginning of menopause, and so I gave it some time. I figured that I didn't want to make a decision based on something that was going on with my body and with my emotions and my brain at the time. So I did some counseling. We went to counseling, continued to kind of work in that area. And it just came down to, after a number of years of this, that that my ex didn't feel like that we had a problem, and so he wasn't really willing to work on it. And so that's when I decided to end my marriage. Now, after a couple years, I decided to start dating again. But even before that, one thing that I want to express with women, and God has given us strength that you don't even know about until you're going through menopause, and then you have a mother who goes into starting to have dementia symptoms. And I was the only sibling in the area. And so I was the one that took care of her, as well as made the decision. We all made the decision together by phone, but as far as the physical moving her into where she needed to be to get the best help, it was pretty much all on me. I also was the one here to clean out her home. And my mom, bless her heart, was a hoarder and had lots of stuff. And I say hoarder, she had a lot of activities that she, through the years, loved doing, whether it was painting. She got into sculpture. She got was into knitting and crocheting and all of those things that were great. But she kept everything, and things just started piling up. And as dementia came along, it was just something, you just kind of, she just existed in her house, and it really didn't pay too much notice to all of the stuff that was piling up. Every table, every surface was covered, piled with different things that she had worked on over the years. So I was going through menopause and then dealing with my mom and the onset of her dementia, and cleaning out her house pretty much all by myself. We had three dumpsters that came to empty all of the stuff into that we didn't sell, and so all of that, and then put her house on the market. And then once that was all done, I got a little bit of breathing room, but at the same time, I was going through my own emotional stuff. And then having this on top of it was, it felt like quite a big, heavy load. But as I mentioned before, God makes women strong, and we can get through all kinds of things. And I know some of you watching right now may be going through some of the stuff that I dealt with already. And you've got parents that are failing. They're going through all types of medical issues, and you're having to deal with that. And it's hard. It's not easy. And emotionally, you're drained. Menopause will cause you to be more tired than normal, but somehow you gain that strength and you make it through it. So if you're dealing with anything like that, I would love to hear your story too. So please post it in the comments if you've got something you'd like to share. So then once my mom, she got into a memory care place, and then it was having the time. I was still trying to work and make income. I was single by myself at that time, and so I would go visit her at least a couple few times a week, and then try to keep my real estate business going and dealing with that, as well as the all the emotions that go along with your mom not remembering who you were and all of that thing, all that kind of stuff. And so it was pretty tough. Then I decided that I just wanted to start dating again. Be nice to have a companion to go do fun things with that would kind of take my mind off of all the other stuff that was going on. So that's when I started on the dating apps. And I do feel like one thing we need to remember, and this is when you're dating and you're going through menopause, your emotions are not as level as what they normally would be. So your decision making is a bit off at times. There may be somebody that you meet that's a totally nice person and would be a good companion for you, but you start seeing things, I don't know, you just get triggers at times that you just don't want to deal with it. And one of the big symptoms, and I'll be talking about two of the ones that I didn't realize were coming, but one of the big symptoms that a lot of women experience with menopause is you just want to be alone. You feel like other people irritate you all the time, especially if you've got a husband or a partner, and they're not quite understanding the emotional ups and downs that you're going through, the hot flashes, the irritability, the fogginess. And by fogginess, I mean in your mind. One of the things that I experienced, and I mentioned, I was keeping my business going as well as starting dating again, was um, I have sold real estate for 22 years now. And after I started going through menopause, one of the things that I noticed is I would go in and work on paperwork and just stop. It's almost like I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be doing. I just had a lot of brain fog as far as how the sequence of what I was supposed to be doing was going to happen. And if you know anything about real estate, there's paperwork involved. There's different steps and sequence of events that need to happen in order for a house to close successfully. And my brain was just not calculating that. And so I had somebody helping me during that time. And that lasted for probably 2 years. And I really can't even pinpoint the time that it stopped. But it just all of a sudden I was sharp again. I felt like, ooh, I'm back because it feels like you go away for a while. And that was one of the things that I noticed a lot in for my experience. But as far as dating goes, you don't want to deal with stuff. Your senses are totally off. So those of you who have commented a lot on some of the videos that I have that you're done, you don't want to deal with a man, you don't want to deal with the drama, you don't want to deal with any of the stuff that has to go with dating. If you're dealing with menopause, that may be the reason. And just know that when you come out of the other side of all this experience, you may change your mind, and that's just kind of natural. That is the experience that I had with just not wanting to deal with stuff. But mine, that went away pretty quickly for me. And I met David at 61. I had been going through menopause for 10 years in. And so I was kind of on the downhill side of being through all this. But the hot flashes continued for another probably 8 years. And I didn't notice irritability as much. But I did notice the two symptoms that I wanted to tell you about that were big that I did not expect. And number one was heart palpitations. And though, if those of you that follow Oprah and her story, she dealt with the same type of things. I think either she's 6 months younger or 6 months older than I am. I can't remember who's first. But I happened to be watching a clip of one of her shows, and she was talking about her heart palpitations and how she would go to sleep at night. She journals every night, and put in her journal that if she didn't wake up in the next morning, just to let people know what she was feeling. And my heart palpitations were not that bad, but it was so good to hear that somebody else was dealing with that, because I thought, oh, I'm having a heart attack. I don't know what's going on. And so those kind of things I had no idea that that was going to happen. Another symptom that, or another thing that showed up in menopause was frozen shoulder. And I didn't know that was a thing. My left shoulder would hurt. And I thought, what's going on? Because it was my left shoulder, you always think about your left side and it bothering your heart or affecting something affecting your heart. And then I read about frozen shoulder, and it's just soreness. It feels almost like a bursitis kind of thing. You just can't move. It hurts, and now it's gone away. And so it's one of those things that comes and you don't know why, and then it goes away. Now there are many symptoms that go with menopause, and all the things, a lot of them we all have experienced and know about. And those things are irritability, emotional roller coaster, fatigue, not wanting to be intimate, vaginal dryness, poor concentration. I talked about that brain fog. You've got irrational thinking, and that's the one I was mentioning about. If you're trying to date right now, it's best to take your time. If you go out on a date with somebody, don't make rational decisions on whether he's the one or not. But just take your time and try to know where you are emotionally, and step back from the situation for a little bit before you make any rational decisions. And then more relationships break up because of the emotional issues that women deal with. And it's not just what we deal with, but how other people perceive us. They don't want to deal with that. It just comes across as, I don't know, people feel like they're walking on eggshells around you all the time because they don't really know what to expect from you emotionally. And just to kind of top that off, I don't know if you've read this before, but back in the 1800s and even up into the early 1900s, they were putting women into insane asylums or into mental hospitals. And most of it was menopause symptoms. They never, men and doctors, I don't know if it's just men doctors, but mostly men were doctors back then. They didn't know what to do with it. They thought that women were going crazy at a certain age. And once they got through, I was listening to a podcast about it, and they figured once a woman got to a certain age where she couldn't bear children anymore, that she lost a lot of brain function and she just went crazy. Isn't that funny? I'm going, are you kidding me? In closing today's video, I just want to talk about one last thing, and that is how we as women feel about our bodies. And when you're going through menopause, you're going through a lot of changes in how your body feels, how it looks. We gain the belly fat. A lot of women just do not feel good in their own bodies. And so the self-esteem is affected in that way. And sometimes intimacy is affected as well. And if you're married and in a committed relationship, you're going to go through some of those things with your partner, and trying to talk with them, explain to them what's going on, and hopefully they can be understanding enough to think that, not to think that you're just don't love them anymore. And it's a hard thing to go through for both men and women, but mostly women need to feel free to talk about it, and not just with girlfriends, but also with whoever your partner is, so that they can gain an understanding of what you're going through. Be sure to like and subscribe, and please comment and give us your experience of what you've been through when it comes to menopause and any of the changes that you've experienced. And also, don't forget to check out the book that I posted below, that it's not your grandma's menopause. And this book that I'm recommending, I'm going to read to you a little bit here about the description. And mainly, I picked this book and read it because it was talking about, a Gen Xer's idea of what menopause is all about. And she also goes through and talks about some remedies that she's dealt with, natural remedies, and ways to make us feel whole again and to get our power back as women as we get older. Thanks for joining me, and please remember to like and subscribe.